Your brain is constantly lying to you. And you are not even aware of it. Brain. We speak at every opportunity. It's an amazing machine. A very, very powerful computer. But it's not perfect either. It has limits. Some defense mechanisms in order not to force these limits and burn the engine. Simplifying information is one of them. However, this also comes at a cost. Prejudices. It's one of the brain's self-protection mechanisms. The prejudices it develops to make faster decisions. It is a phenomenon that has even spread to your memories. We refer to even when you remember what you remember, remembering what you have experienced. Because our limits of attention or focus are also clear. That's why we have to be selective about what we pay attention to and focus on. Therefore, it is appropriate to say that we are watching the world around us, the people in our lives, our life and even ourselves with a biased glasses. Do not worry. You have too. Me too, everyone. And this casts a huge shadow on what we call reality. So let's see how our brain tells us lies. Prejudices are everywhere. In every moment of life. The simplest. We constantly think that others are biased or erroneous, that their perception is distorted, and that we keep ourselves out of this equation reveals the perception disorder about ourselves. Or very simple. We always look at the news that make us feel good, evidence and sources that confirm our way of thinking, and be with people who think like us. We'll look at many more examples in a moment, but in a nutshell, we are all guilty. Now, everything is actually based on time perception. When you try to make the slightest decision, imagine that you are trying to take into account all the possibilities that may occur after making that decision. You would probably spend your whole life looking at the space where you are, whether I turn left or right. For this, our brain is doing us a huge favor. It puts aside all the complexity of life and the decisions to be made and offers us shortcuts. It activates intuition. With these intuitions, you can make much faster decisions and continue your life. But so many things are cramming in these shortcuts. So no matter what happens, you cannot trust yourself. So what are we going to do then? Let's do it like this. Let's take a look at how our perception deteriorates with step-by-step examples. When our awareness on this issue increases, maybe we can take control, if not completely, but partially. First of all, we overly trust information we see at first glance or is given to us. It is known as the anchoring or anchoring effect in psychology. This is an effect you experience every time you go shopping. If a price is crossed out and a lower price is written below it, for example, we reference the crossed out price. Or this is the reason why $1,499 were written instead of $1,500. The first two numbers create the anchoring effect, making it feel like there is an additional $1 more difference between $1,499 and $1,500. Are we all aware of this? Actually, yes. But do we fall victim to this many times? Mostly yes. Besides, these are very simple examples. Another bias or shortcut stems from the laziness of thinking. We can call it overgeneralization. For example, you have known two people of one nation throughout your life. These two people turned out to be bad people. And from this you can conclude that this nation is all bad. They also call it availability error. For example, there are dozens of experiments that reveal erroneous reasoning arising from the error of availability. In one experiment, subjects had to first learn a word list. The words given to all subjects are the same. However, among the words given to a group, there are 4 flattering words: brave, self-confident, independent, and determined. 4 derogatory words were added to the list for the other group: reckless, arrogant, cold, and headstrong. After learning the words, all the subjects read a short story about a young man who had many dangerous hobbies, appreciated his abilities, had few friends, and hardly changed his mind once he made a decision. Subjects were then asked to evaluate the man. Although it was clearly stated that the word list presented earlier had nothing to do with the man in the story, the subjects who learned the positive adjectives had better opinions about the man than the subjects who learned the negative adjectives. The words could be found in the minds of the subjects as they read the story, therefore, it influenced the way they interpreted the story. These are, of course, internal games that our brains play on us. There is also an external part of the job. How we are influenced by other people. No matter how much we think otherwise, those who remember our social psychology videos before will know. How are we affected? Of course, the most important of these is the instinct to stay separate from the herd. Feel obliged to join the herd in some way, from fashion, trends, to the songs we listen to the clothes we use, to the social media platforms we use. We hear, of course, when it comes to other people, there are companies and their marketing departments that set these trends. In some way, they can create the perception that the products we buy or the services we receive are better than what we do not choose. This is what lies under the wholehearted defense of those who use an Android without an iPhone or an Android without an Android, saying, "This is the best." Actually, they want to say, "This is the best because I chose this," without our knowledge that we were actually selected. Another type of error is a mistake known as the gambler's error. We can summarize how it affects our decision mechanism as follows. A coincidental event, believing that it will happen again because it just happened or not because it just happened, believing that it will not happen again because it has not been for a while, or believing that it will happen because it has not been for a while. And yet this delusion has an incredible effect. It shows you the links that are not actually. It's a shortcut we often use because it makes us make decisions faster and makes us believe we see what no one sees. But let's get to the crucial thing if you want. To verification bias. It is the main source of many social and political problems. It is the tendency to favor, consider and highlight information that supports or confirms people's own beliefs, thoughts, and assumptions. Any ideas that are wrong appear in the form of ignoring, devaluing, rejecting. I think everybody has visualized how important an illusion it is. As we mentioned, it appears everywhere from climate change to religious debates. It is a phenomenon that anti-vaccines, flat-worlders, are actually the biggest victims of. You experience this when you close the doors and close your ears after you have enough evidence to support your own thinking. We can call it the ostrich effect. Make up your mind and bury your head in the sand. Why so? Because this is the easy one. No more thinking about it. Pretend it doesn't exist. Of course there is more. Another phenomenon that deeply affects ourselves, those around us, and the way we perceive the world and deal with problems. Selective perception. Although it is used in different meanings, we will consider it from this perspective within the scope of psychology. With this phenomenon, which is also similar to the verification bias, the person tends to either not notice or quickly forget and ignore everything that disturbs him. Or, we can distort the information and focus only on the part that works for it and take that part in this context. Again. Of course, this is one of our brain's reactions to protect us, but this is also a double-edged knife. These are facts that have profound implications for all of our decisions, choices, political views, along with validation bias. It's deeper than you might imagine. Although it feels good to be in environments that only confirm you, to be in good for you, to receive news that only confirms your opinions, it also causes you to move away from the real thing. Consider your relationships. Past or present. The other person. Is that person really the person you think, the person you believe in? Or is it because you believe it is? Can you be skipping things, knowingly or unknowingly? Do you quickly forget and ignore the qualities that make you feel unwell? Or leave them? Take care of yourself. Your perception of yourself. With all these illusions, conscious or unconscious information filtering and prejudices, the self that you have formed about yourself and which you believe to be true is really true? Are you really who you think you are? It is necessary to consider this well. You will see the reflections of the psychological phenomena I have mentioned throughout this video throughout your life. Arguments with stereotypes and stereotypes are also fruitless. Changing the minds of a person with a stereotypical point of view is almost impossible. Especially if these patterns are surrounded by sensitive emotions, sensitive beliefs and glued together, there is a puzzle that is very, very difficult to solve. Still others come to mind, right? No. I'm talking about you. And as always. Until we meet again. Good thing you are. Yours.